Hey guys, welcome back to Dividends Friday with Seanlock. And before we look at the dividend stocks this week, let's pretend to be concerned about some of the big global news around. The G20 summit is happening this weekend. And if you're like most people watching this on YouTube, you may not even know what G20 is. The G20 summit is a forum where 20 leaders of nations representing more than 80% of the global GDP come together to talk. This map shows the 20 participating countries and the trillions of dollars they have been printing. To you guys out there, do you even know how many zeros are there in 1 trillion? It is very likely about the same numbers of zeros I get on my secondary 2 report card. Anyway, coming back to the G20 summit, it was established in 1999 after Asian financial crisis in 97-98. The leaders of the nations decided it was important for them to come together to discuss how they can foster economic cooperation. I was almost convinced that the G20 is, as they claim, a forum to iron out economic issues with 20 of the world leaders when I realized something fishy from the previous summit. Number one, the trade war actually escalated at the previous summit, causing tension instead of the cooperation they claim. So why do they continue to have the summit that does not meet their objective? Number two, this was a picture taken at the last summit, and when I counted the number of people in the picture, there were actually 37 of them instead of 20 leaders they claim. Shouldn't it be called a G37 instead of G20? Then I saw through the conspiracy. The G20 summit was not as they had claimed. It was nothing more than an expensive marketing campaign for the fashion company G2000. This totally explains why it's called G20 instead of G37, to embed the subtle message of the brand. Also, look at what all the leaders are wearing. G2000 caters mostly for men, and who else better to endorse these power suits than world leaders? And most of you may not know that G2000 belongs to Wing Tai Holdings, a company listed in Singapore and later put themselves back into the Hong Kong Stock Exchange in 1991, again in the same decade. So as you may have guessed it, the stock this week is none other than China Medical System Holdings Limited. Huh? Wait a minute, some of you may be asking, what has China Medical Systems Holding got to do with the G20 and the G2000 and everything else? The answer is the same as how G20 has anything got to do with fostering economic cooperation. Nothing. Well, it's not exactly nothing, but the impact is subtle and indirect. The more meetings China has with Donald Trump, the more tense the situation becomes. And we all know that unnecessary tension leads to all sorts of medical issues such as hair loss, heart failures, etc. And that leads us to this investment opportunity in a company where their finances is near perfect in the eyes of an investor. Comparatively, Wing Tai Holdings, which owns G2000, has shown a declining revenue over the past 10 years, which is great because this adds more headache to the Chinese, causing more demand for medicine. This brings us back to the stock this week, China Medical Systems Holdings. As I briefly mentioned, the finances of CMS is pretty amazing. Their revenue grew at 28.1% for the past 10 years, and their profits grew at 32.9%, and they have been giving out consistent dividends. To top that, their margin increasing from 21% to 34%. And their debt to equity is low at 0.17%. But despite their amazing finances, their stock prices has been dipping. Why is that so? To understand this situation, I further dig into their annual report to understand exactly what they do. And here I am at the website of CMS, also known as Kangzhe Yaoye in Chinese. As you can see, the website is in Mandarin, and these are the times I feel eternally grateful for my Chinese teacher in my secondary school for patiently teaching me where to find the button to translate all this into English. Thank you very much. 谢谢您. After downloading their English annual report, I begin to understand that CMS is in the pharmaceutical industry. But what got me intrigued is the fact that they are the biggest in their specialized field in China. They are not the manufacturers, nor are they the pharmacies or the hospitals. They play an important role to bridge suppliers and the customers of these drugs, bringing drugs from outside China into the mainland, and then they market, promote and sell these drugs to 50,000 hospitals and stores in China. Yeah, that's right. They are the biggest legalized drug pusher in China. The margin they make explains why so many people who are financially desperate actually aspire to be a drug dealer. Now, there are 3 reasons why CMS has been profitable for so many years. Number 1, they help overseas pharmaceuticals with the licensing and renewal of these licenses. Perhaps some of you guys out there has tried this before to bring drugs into China without license. The penalty, I heard, is quite heavy. Number 2, CMS has great sales ability. According to the company's 2018 annual report, Kangze currently has 2,800 sales staff, and all of them are highly qualified medical specialists, and they are covering 53,000. They have academy promotion where they promote drugs through academics. It's my imagination of being a large employer. Schools are more than happy to have them promote and possibly even recruit talents from this school. But what this also means is that they can nurture young future doctors since their birth so that they can be using drugs promoted by CMS even when they become established doctors in hospitals and all other pharmaceuticals. It's like when you nurture a baby lion when they are young, and when they are huge, they will become your friend. Number 3, CMS also holds exclusive licenses for some of the biggest drugs in China. Being exclusive, that's where they have an advantage. But this is also the reason why their share price plunged. That's because a number of the drugs that they are promoting had their patent expired, and hence the stock market is concerned about their sustainability. However, based on my research, a number of their drugs has expired some time back, but the revenue and margins has not been affected. Also, CMS has been developing their own R&D, moving into the pharmaceutical manufacturing space. This, in my opinion, is a good move, but it's also an uncertain move. So overall, because the stock prices are being beaten down, the current valuation dividend yield is 5% and the P/E ratio is about 7. This poses a good opportunity to buy a company with great finances. And as US and many other countries continue to give tension and problems to China, medical demands will continue to grow, and therefore we reach China with more issues in the years ahead. So the stock this week is CMS. You can look into it and possibly collect them in some of your arsenal of dividend stocks. I'll see you next Friday if the G20 doesn't end up in some nuclear war or cyber war or something like that. But in the meantime, take care and goodbye. This is Seanlock signing off.